So very often, we need to make some adjustments even before we go into print preview. There are two things that can help us. The first is the page layout view. In the last video, we looked at working with print preview. However, we only really want to use the print preview right towards the end when we're ready to print. A lot of our data, if it's a larger set, is not going to fit easily on the page. You may remember this from our first few videos. If you come down to the status bar, there are three view buttons: the normal, page layout, and page break preview. Now, we are currently on the normal, but the next one is the page layout. When I click, you can actually see how the update is going to sit on the page. But we can also edit the data in this view, so it's a lot more efficient. The other recommendation is to go to the page layout tab. This gives us a lot of options for setting up our page. Now, looking at this data, the first thing we probably want to do is change the orientation. So, I'm going to click Orientation and choose Landscape. So, that's made a huge difference. It's just not quite fitting, but before we start trying to squish all of our columns, a very quick and easy option is margins. So, by default, the margins are set to normal, which are quite generous. I'm going to change it to narrow. And that has fixed the problem. Now, I'd probably be happy with that, but those people who are quite perfectionists might not. Like the fact that the margins are quite narrow on this side and wider on this side. So, here's a well-hidden little option. Back up to margins, we have the custom margins. You can set your margins to any width you like, but the option I really like is the option to center on page. And we're going to center it horizontally and vertically. And then we say okay. So that's looking great. Let's now look at a slightly bigger worksheet. So I'm going to click into orders. And this is quite big, so we will see some problems. So let's come back to our page layout view. There, as you can see, we have 3 pages from here. And at the bottom, you can see page 1 of 306. I'm sure we can bring that number down a little bit. So once again, let's come to our page layout tab and let's change our orientation to landscape. And let's change our margins to narrow. There. Well, it's looking a bit better, but if I scroll right, you'll see we still have 2 pages. Now, I think I'm going to be able to fit all the data into 1 page wide and still be able to read it. So, there's a great tool to help us with this. It's called the Scale to Fit. In the Scale to Fit, you can adjust either your width or your height or just manually change the scale. So I'm going to come up with a width. Click the drop down and I'll choose 1 page. There we go. It's already in 1 page. So the whole spreadsheet is sitting nicely on 1 page. And if you can see here, in our status bar, we have page 1 of 94 already. So we almost have our paper usage. One thing though that you should also check is what percentage you scaled it down to. Anything down to about 75 is probably fine. If it's down to 23, no one's going to be able to read it. So you might need to still change. At the moment, you will notice my scale is grayed out. That is because I've set it to always fit to 1 page wide even if I go and add another 25 columns. So do be a little careful leaving it like this. What I suggest is come back and flip this back to automatic. Now it hasn't adjusted my scale. It's left at 68%. But if I need to manually adjust it, I can. And if I need to add more columns, they will spill into the other sheets. So there you have it. Some of the most useful print options and of course a page layout view. In the next video, we'll look at how to work with page breaks. So don't forget to practice these skills yourself.